SpongeBob SquarePants might seem like just a happy sponge living under the sea, but there's a lot more to him than that. Behind his cheerful attitude and big smile, he's shaped by his dreams, his struggles, and his desire to feel important. To truly get SpongeBob, we need to take a look at the moments that helped make him who he is, and see how his need for acceptance affects the way he lives. So, sit back, grab a Krabby Patty, and let's take a look at the story of SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob starts out as just a regular guy with simple dreams. Before all his wild adventures, he's just this yellow dude living in a pineapple under the sea. That pineapple is his safe space, his home base, his little slice of Bikini Bottom where everything makes sense. His mornings never change. That alarm goes off, and he literally jumps out of bed screaming, I'm ready, at the top of his lungs. He brushes those square teeth, feeds Gary, waves at Squidward, who obviously never waves back, and heads to the Krusty Krab. Or, if it's his day off, he's grabbing his jellyfishing net and running off with Patrick. But we don't really see what's going on inside until that season 2 episode, Procrastination. Remember that one? SpongeBob gets this super basic essay assignment, and he completely falls apart. He can't start writing until everything's perfect. His pencil's lined up, his desk at the right angle, the lighting just so. As the night drags on, he'll do literally anything except write that essay. He ends up staring at the wall, talking to his furniture, even cleaning his whole house. By sunrise, he's having actual hallucinations. This isn't just a sponge avoiding homework. It's someone crushed by the pressure to be perfect. If he can't be amazing at something right away, he'd rather not even try. That whole cheerful routine he sticks to is basically his armor. You see it again in Big Pink Loser, when Patrick gets that trophy by mistake. Patrick starts copying everything SpongeBob does. His walk, the way he breathes, how he works. But when Patrick crashes and burns trying to keep up with the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob doesn't slow down to help. He speeds up. He starts working twice as hard, cleaning faster, stacking higher. It's like watching someone whose entire identity is wrapped up in being the hardest worker in the room. SpongeBob isn't just doing his job well because he cares. He's terrified of what happens if he's not exceptional. If he's not the best fry cook in Bikini Bottom, then who exactly is he? And then there's Ripped Pants. Man, that episode hits different when you really think about it. SpongeBob accidentally rips his pants at Goo Lagoon, and everybody laughs. For maybe the first time, he feels like the center of attention in a good way, so he keeps doing it again and again, harder and harder, until finally nobody's laughing anymore, and he's just standing there alone. For a split second, we see a SpongeBob who's desperate to matter to other people. That constant energy, that over-the-top cheer, it's not just him being happy, it's him trying to prove he's enough. These episodes quietly build a picture of who SpongeBob really is when nothing's going wrong. On the surface, he's the same. Upbeat, hardworking, endlessly generous, but look closer and you'll notice the cracks. He's wildly insecure, obsessed with keeping things just right, and deeply tied to how others see him. His world doesn't run on luck, it runs on control. The routines, the positivity, the constant hustle. It's not just who he is, it's what he uses to keep everything from falling apart. At this point in his story, everything seems solid. The pineapple's still standing, the Krusty Krab is open for business. Patrick's always ready to go jellyfishing, and Squidward's still annoyed by all of it. Beneath it all, SpongeBob's entire identity relies on a fragile system, and it won't take much to tear it down. Something's gotta give, and when it does, we'll find out what really happens when being cheerful and helpful just isn't enough anymore. SpongeBob's life starts off simple. Same routine, same friends, same pineapple under the sea. But that all shifts in Help Wanted, when he finally goes for the fry cook job he's been dreaming about. Squidward and Mr. Krabs thinks he's a joke, until he saves the day with a miracle spatula and feeds a mob of anchovies like it's nothing. He gets the job. It's his first big win, but it's only the beginning. And hey, if you're into character breakdowns like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more deep dives into your favorite animated icons coming up, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Every hero has that moment when life kicks down their door and forces them to step up. For SpongeBob, it all starts with a Help Wanted sign and a hungry mob of anchovies. Right from episode 1, we see him standing at the edge of something huge. He's practiced fake interviews in the mirror so many times it's almost sad. He finally works up the nerve to apply. Patrick yells encouraging words from a distance, and SpongeBob heads to the Krusty Krab, shaking with excitement and nerves. Then, reality smacks him in the face. Squidward and Mr. Krabs laugh him off before he can even speak. They send him on a wild goose chase for some made-up kitchen tool, a hydrodynamic spatula with port and starboard attachments and turbo drive. They think he'll give up and walk away discouraged. Most people would give up. SpongeBob just smiles and runs off, shouting, "I'm ready." Then comes the flood. Hundreds of hungry anchovies flood the Krusty Krab, their orders coming in all at once, overwhelming the place. Squidward starts to panic, while Mr. Krab sees a chance to make money, but can't keep up with the orders. And then SpongeBob rushes in. He's got the spatula, the actual impossible spatula they joked about, chrome-plated, turbocharged, like he found it straight out of a kitchenware catalog. Without hesitation, he jumps behind the grill and gets to work. His hands move so fast, they're a blur. Patties sizzle and fly through the air, perfectly cooked. The anchovies get their orders, and Mr. Krabs hires him right then and there. Just like that, the nobody becomes somebody. This matters because it shows SpongeBob's true strength. When people turn him away, he doesn't give up. He gives it his all. When the world laughs at him, he just pours more energy into it until things start going his way. But here's what he doesn't realize. Getting the job was the easy part. The Krusty Krab isn't just a restaurant. It's the arena where he'll face everything hard about growing up. And Squidward and Mr. Krabs are more than just co-workers. They're living examples of what happens when you let greed take over. SpongeBob walks out of the kitchen grinning from ear to ear, proud of himself. What he doesn't know, and what he can already feel, is that this is just the start. There'll be rough days, mess-ups, moments where his usual "I'm ready" won't fix everything. Because chasing a dream feels one way, living inside it feels completely different. But for now, none of that matters. He's got the job, the spatula, and the biggest smile in Bikini Bottom. His real journey is still to come. After landing the job at the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob thinks he's ready for anything. But the reality of the job brings a new challenge, stepping out of his comfort zone. The chaos of the restaurant is just the start. He'll have to face what it really means to grow up and find his place in this new world. Most heroes don't jump into change right away. There's almost always that moment where they pause, where staying in their normal, familiar life feels easier than stepping into something new. For SpongeBob, it's not some big dramatic moment where he flat out says no. It's smaller than that. It's in the way he stalls, tries too hard, or avoids stuff that makes him feel unsure. And one of the best places we see that is when he's trying to drive a boat. In Bumper to Bumper, Mrs. Puff gives SpongeBob one final shot at his boating exam after he's failed who knows how many times. She tries something completely different, letting him drive without instructions, rules, or pressure. It's her last-ditch effort to help SpongeBob pass. This is his golden opportunity to finally prove himself. And then he freezes up again. The change in him is hard to miss. The SpongeBob we're used to, the one who usually jumps into everything full of energy, is nowhere to be found once he's in the driver's seat. His hands shake. He doubts every little move. His confidence just disappears. Instead of feeling motivated to finally get it right, the pressure shuts him down. He doesn't say it out loud, but you can see it in everything he does. He can't step up, not because he doesn't want to, but because deep down, he doesn't think he can. The driving test isn't just about getting a license. For SpongeBob, it's about growing up, taking on real responsibility, and doing something that doesn't come easy to him. And every time he fails, it hits his confidence a little harder. He's only ever felt sure of himself inside of his usual bubble. The Krusty Krab, jellyfishing, his everyday routines. Learning to drive would mean stepping outside all that, and deep down, that scares him. So he shuts down. He freaks out, and he slips back into the version of himself he knows best. The one who tries really hard, but never quite gets there. We see this same behavior pop up again in Dying for Pie. Squidward thinks he's accidentally given SpongeBob an explosive pie that'll go off by sunset. SpongeBob doesn't know the full story, but when Squidward tells him he's dying, his reaction says a lot. He doesn't break down or get angry. He doesn't even ask why. Instead, he grabs a to-do list and starts checking off everything he thinks a perfect day should look like. But the way he spends those hours says a lot. He fills every moment with laughter, games, and big gestures, as if he's trying to avoid facing the truth. Because if he stopped for even a second, he might have to face something deep down. The fact that his time is limited, and he's not even sure if he's really been living it the way he should. There's something behind those big smiles. SpongeBob treats the idea of his own death like it's just another thing to get through, not something to really think about. His way of avoiding this truth isn't fun. It's something we all do sometimes. He doesn't know how to deal with real fear, so he keeps himself busy, focusing on anything but the bigger picture. These two episodes show us how SpongeBob avoids growing up. It's not that he says no, it's that he's afraid of what change might mean. Instead of facing the challenge, he hides behind his constant energy, his big smile, and the familiar routines he knows so well. He keeps pushing forward, even when he's not getting it right, just to avoid the fear that maybe he's not ready for what's next. That's what makes SpongeBob's real moments of growth so powerful. When he finally moves forward, we understand the weight of that change. It means he's faced his fear. It means he heard that nagging voice telling him he wasn't ready, but kept going anyway. For SpongeBob, the hardest part wasn't learning something new. It was believing he was even worthy of trying. And in that struggle, between staying comfortable and the fear of becoming more, we can see ourselves. We recognize our own doubts dressed in yellow and square pants, our own reasons for holding back wrapped in silliness and innocence. And maybe that's why we keep watching. Not just for the laughs or the nostalgia, but because deep down, we all see a little bit of ourselves in that yellow sponge, standing on the edge, wondering if we're really ready for what's next. SpongeBob has a way of avoiding change, whether it's stalling at his boating test or keeping himself busy to avoid facing bigger fears. It's not that he says no, but he's just not sure he's ready for what's ahead. But what if someone saw more in him? Someone who could help him see that potential, even when he doesn't believe it. That's where Sandy comes in. When everything starts to feel off, when the kitchen's too quiet, the boating school's too loud, and even Patrick's calling you dumb just to impress his parents, what do you do? If you're SpongeBob, you smile, keep going, and try again. But even the most upbeat sponge needs someone to look up to. Not a boss giving orders, not a best friend who just agrees with everything. He needs someone who pushes him, who shows him there's more to life than spatulas and jellyfish nets. Someone who makes him think. That someone is Sandy Cheeks. Sandy isn't your typical bikini bottom neighbor. She's a squirrel from Texas, living in an air dome under the sea. She builds machines, breaks boards, and solves problems without breaking a sweat. SpongeBob, on the other hand, gets excited about everything. He acts on impulse, dives in headfirst. Sandy takes a step back and figures things out. They don't approach life the same way, but that's what makes their friendship work. Their first real moment together comes early in season 1, episode 2, titled Tea at the Tree Dome. It's awkward. SpongeBob wants to make a good impression, so he fakes it, pretends he doesn't need water. He's sweating buckets, gasping for air, but still smiling through the pain because asking for help feels like failure. When he finally passes out, it's not just because he's out of air. He's embarrassed. He didn't want to look weak, but Sandy doesn't laugh. She helps him, and more importantly, she doesn't make a big deal out of it. That small moment shows how their friendship works. She's not trying to boost his confidence or tell him what he wants to hear. She sees who he is underneath all the chaos and chooses to stay. From then on, Sandy's one of the few people SpongeBob really pays attention to. Patrick cheers him on no matter what. Squidward barely tolerates his existence. Mr. Krabs sees him as labor. But Sandy respects him. She believes he can do better and expects him to try. That alone changes the way SpongeBob sees himself. In season 7, episode 9, titled Perfect Chemistry, Sandy and SpongeBob team up on a science experiment until Plankton sneaks in to manipulate them both. The thing is, SpongeBob's not a scientist. He's out of his element here. He fumbles with equipment, asks too many questions, and for most of the episode seems like dead weight. But Sandy doesn't brush him off. She includes him, explains things, treats him like someone who belongs in the lab. And that's what matters. Not just being smart enough or skilled enough, but being trusted enough to learn. Because while SpongeBob may not get all the chemistry jokes, he's paying attention. And when the moment comes, when Plankton's scheme nearly backfires, SpongeBob's the one who steps up because he was learning, even when no one thought he was. That's what makes Sandy different. She doesn't talk down to him or take over. She lets him be a part of it, even when he's struggling. And little by little, he catches on. What makes this relationship work is that it never slips into the cliche wise mentor and clueless student. Sandy isn't perfect. She gets frustrated. She underestimates him sometimes, but she always circles back. She meets SpongeBob with patience and high expectations. And for SpongeBob, that balance is everything. It's the kind of push he doesn't get anywhere else. At the Krusty Krab, he's already at the top. In jellyfishing, he's the expert. Even with Patrick, he's the one handing out advice. Usually terrible advice, but still. With Sandy, he's the underdog, the apprentice. It's not always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. But it's in that tension between wanting to impress her and not always knowing how that SpongeBob starts to grow. You see it again in episodes like Karate Star, when Patrick tries out SpongeBob's favorite hobby and things go completely wrong. At first, SpongeBob thinks he can keep things under control, but before long, Patrick's karate moves are causing chaos everywhere. The whole town's a mess. SpongeBob's at his end. And who steps in? Sandy. She doesn't lecture or punish anyone. Instead, she helps them both get back on track without ever making SpongeBob feel less than. She treats him like someone who can do better because she genuinely believes he can. Even in moments where Sandy takes the lead, like Sandy's rocket or SpongeBob's Country Christmas, you'll notice something. SpongeBob doesn't fight her for control. He watches, learns. He admires her. It's subtle, but you see it in the way he follows her instructions, mimics her problem solving, or tries to be braver just because she is. And that's what makes Sandy such a good mentor for him. She's not trying to change who SpongeBob is, just giving him the tools to evolve. She doesn't need him to be serious or scientific or disciplined all the time, but she does want him to think before he jumps straight in, to ask more questions, to grow up a little without losing his personality. Because if there's one thing Sandy understands, it's that joy and intelligence don't have to cancel each other out. You can be silly and serious, curious and careful, You can care a lot and still mess up. Sandy helps SpongeBob see that trying to be better doesn't mean you're not already enough. That mistakes are just part of the process. That failure doesn't define you. It just redirects you. And SpongeBob, for all his clumsiness and missteps, listens. Not always right away, not without hesitation, but he listens because somewhere inside, he knows he's not done growing. Not even close. Sandy doesn't give him the answers. She gives him the space to figure them out, and that's how real mentorship is done. Sandy Cheeks helps SpongeBob learn to think before act, showing him there's more to life than just having fun. But when Mr. Krabs doesn't believe in him and promotes Squidward instead of SpongeBob, SpongeBob has to decide whether to stay in his safe world or take a chance. When Mr. Krabs is in trouble, SpongeBob chooses to leave Bikini Bottom and face the unknown. If you're enjoying this, give it a quick like and maybe subscribe. Helps a ton. SpongeBob's comfortable world was perfectly arranged. His pineapple house, his beloved fry-cook job, jellyfishing with Patrick, and Squidward's predictable insults. For him, routine wasn't a prison, but a safe haven. Everything shifts in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie when Mr. Krab passes him over for a promotion, calling him just a kid. It cuts deeper than any rejection before. For once, SpongeBob actually believes it. You hear it in his defeated voice, see it in the lonely ice cream binge that follows. Then, King Neptune's crown goes missing, and Mr. Krabs' life is on the line. And suddenly, SpongeBob has a choice. Stay in his small, safe world where no one expects much from him, or step outside everything he knows. He chooses to leave, and nothing is the same after that. Out there, things get real. Just actual danger. Bikers who want them gone, a deep, creepy pit full of who knows what, and someone chasing them every step of the way. SpongeBob starts to lose faith in himself more than once, but the important part, he keeps going. This journey isn't just about physical distance. It's about leaving behind the old SpongeBob, the one who laughed off every failure without questioning his path. By the time they reach Shell City and nearly die under the heat lamp, that version of him is gone. They don't win because SpongeBob suddenly gets stronger or smarter. They win because he finally owns who he is. Goofy, emotional, a little out there. And instead of hiding that, he lets it out. That's what gets them through. When he gets back home after saving Mr. Krabs and dealing with Neptune, something's just different. The pineapple doesn't feel as big. The Krusty Krab isn't quite the same. He's still SpongeBob, still loud, still ridiculous, but now he knows he can handle more than he thought. And in later episodes, you can tell. He starts facing things with a little more calm, a little more confidence. After everything SpongeBob goes through, you really see the change in it. When Gary runs away and Have You Seen This Snail, it's not just a little sadness. It hits him hard. You can tell it's deeper than before. He's feeling real pain, the kind that makes him realize what it means to lose something important. It's the kind of loss that sticks with you and changes how you see the world. In Atlantis SquarePantis, SpongeBob steps up without hesitation when his friends are exploring the ancient city. He's not second-guessing himself or waiting for someone else to take charge. This is a SpongeBob who's been through some real challenges and come out stronger. He's got the confidence now, even if he doesn't always see it in himself. What makes this change so powerful is how it sticks with him. Unlike a lot of cartoon characters who go back to square one after each episode, SpongeBob holds on to what he's been through. He doesn't just reset. He builds on everything he's learned, whether it's small or big, and it stays with him as he moves forward. You can spot it in the little things, like when he stands up to Plankton more confidently, or handles Squidward with a bit more patience. Even his friendship with Patrick grows, going beyond just playful moments. It's not a huge change, but more of a slow, steady growth. SpongeBob figuring out who he is and where he fits in the bigger picture. Even with all the changes, SpongeBob's heart stays the same. His innocence doesn't disappear just because he's been through tough times. In fact, his optimism becomes more real. It's not just blind cheerfulness anymore. After seeing the hard parts of life, he still chooses to find the good and hold on to joy. The real change isn't just that SpongeBob left Bikini Bottom. It's that he found something worth fighting for. The people he loves, the places that feel like home, and a deeper purpose than just flipping patties. Once you step out and see the world, coming back never feels the same. What makes SpongeBob's journey so powerful is how he doesn't need to give up his childlike wonder to grow. What he learns is that the things others saw as childish, his optimism, his energy, are actually his greatest strengths. When SpongeBob steps out of his comfort zone, he doesn't change into someone else. He becomes more of who he truly is, and that's what really makes his journey important. SpongeBob's world gets turned upside down when Mr. Krabs brushes him off, pushing him out of his safe zone. But the real change is not the adventure. It's realizing that staying true to who he is, despite everything, is what really matters. Once you've stepped out of your comfort zone, you start to learn something no one warns you about. It's not always the big moments that break you. It's the little ones that pile up. Now, SpongeBob is out there, having faced challenges and proven himself. He's taken risks, saved the day, and changed how people view him. But now, he's up against something different. Resistance. Not from wild creatures or crazy adventures, but from the world around him. From his friends. From the people he cares about. And sometimes, even from himself. This part of SpongeBob's journey is different. Things don't get louder. They get heavier. The laughs still come, but the stakes are higher. The episodes grow sharper, more personal. It's no longer about whether SpongeBob can do the impossible. It's about whether he can hold on to who he is when it feels like no one else cares. Let's be real. SpongeBob doesn't face typical villains. Instead, he faces stressors. People who push all the right buttons and challenge his sense of self. These aren't evil masterminds. They're the everyday pressures that make SpongeBob question who he is and what he stands for. Plankton is the obvious one. He doesn't have brute strength, but he's dangerous in a different way. He thrives on control. His only goal is power, no matter the cost. SpongeBob, on the other hand, lives for connection. He's driven by the relationships he builds, whether it's with his friends or his job. That's where the clash happens. It's not a simple battle of good versus evil. It's a deeper struggle of heart versus ego. In Plankton, Season 1, Plankton takes things to the extreme. He literally crawls into SpongeBob's brain, trying to control his every thought. But what Plankton doesn't expect is SpongeBob's unshakable willpower. He doesn't push back with force or aggression, but with something even stronger, his sense of self. His moral compass stays firm, and that's what makes all the difference. You can't control someone who knows exactly who they are. Then, in The Algae's Always Greener, Plankton gets the idea to swap lives with Mr. Krabs. Suddenly, SpongeBob is working for a version of his boss who doesn't appreciate him or the work he does, and it messes with him. He can't quite put his finger on why it feels so wrong, but he knows something is off. It's not just about doing the right thing. SpongeBob wants to feel that his efforts matter. When that feedback disappears, so does his confidence. It's a reminder that validation and connection are as important as the job itself. And then there's Bubble Bass. He's not after power or revenge. He just wants to make SpongeBob feel small. And in Pickles, he succeeds. One lie, you forgot the pickles. And just like that, SpongeBob forgets how to cook. It's as if years of skill and confidence vanish in an instant. He spirals fast. Sure, it's funny in the moment, but it's also painfully real. Because sometimes, all it takes is one comment to shake you down to your core, to make you doubt everything you thought you were good at. And that's the real challenge. SpongeBob isn't just up against villains or danger. He's up against something much harder. Doubt. It's not the kind of battle you can fight off with a spatula or a jellyfishing net. It's a quiet, creeping force that makes him question everything he's capable of. But here's the thing, he's not alone in this. That's why he keeps going. Without his friends, he wouldn't make it through. There is anchor, even when the world around him gets clouded. Patrick might not have all the answers, or be the most helpful in the traditional sense, but one thing he always does is show up. Every single time. When SpongeBob is at his lowest, Patrick is just there. And sometimes, that's all it takes. Take Rock Bottom, for example. SpongeBob is lost, confused, and about to give up. But then, out of nowhere, Patrick appears. It's not a grand solution, no big revelation, but for that brief moment, things feel a little lighter. Patrick doesn't fix the mess. He doesn't need to. He simply reminds SpongeBob that he's not alone, that there's still someone in his corner. And sometimes, that's enough. Gary doesn't say a word, but he doesn't need to. He's the quiet support in SpongeBob's life, always there to keep things steady. In Have You Seen This Snail? When Gary leaves, SpongeBob falls apart. It's not a big meltdown, but you can tell something's wrong. Slowly, he starts to shut down. This is one of the few times we really see SpongeBob struggle. It's because Gary isn't just a pet. He's the one thing that keeps SpongeBob feeling stable. Without Gary, everything feels off. It shows us that even though SpongeBob is always full of energy, he's not invincible. Losing Gary makes him realize that he has his limits too. Sandy's role has changed. She's no longer just SpongeBob's mentor. Now, she challenges him. In Pressure, when she argues with the group about land creatures versus sea creatures, she doesn't hold back. She expects SpongeBob to stick up for himself. When he doesn't, she lets him make mistakes. But that's the whole point. Sandy's not trying to make things easier for him. She wants him to get stronger. Then there's Squidward. He's the one who won't admit he cares, but still sticks around. In Band Geeks, when Squidward needs help, SpongeBob doesn't hesitate. And for once, Squidward actually acknowledges his effort. Even a tiny bit of praise from Squidward means more to SpongeBob than 100 compliments from anyone else. Because deep down, SpongeBob just wants to be respected, even by those who act like they don't care. Here's the tough part. SpongeBob's world doesn't always reward him for being kind. He gets embarrassed, laughed at, and taken advantage of. He gives everything he has to people who don't always appreciate it, but he doesn't stop. Most people would give up. Most people would become bitter, but not SpongeBob. He keeps going. And that's what makes this part of his journey important. It's not about winning. It's about holding on to who you are. Despite all the setbacks, people trying to bring him down, doubts creeping in, tough customers, SpongeBob never loses himself. Every challenge wears him down, but he always finds a way to keep going. Not because he's perfect, but because he's true to himself. He's trying, and he refuses to become bitter, no matter how tough life gets. That's not weakness, that's strength. SpongeBob faces his toughest test yet. Not the villains, but the creeping doubts that make him question his worth. The real battle isn't external, it's the quiet collapse inside it. But he doesn't give up, even when he feels overlooked, forgotten, or unsure of himself. He keeps showing up, choosing to stay true to who he is. By now, SpongeBob's been through it all. Angry anchovy mobs, jellyfish stampedes, mind control, betrayal, and even the strange horror of glove-flavored ice cream. Through it all, he's managed to keep his optimism alive. But even the happiest characters eventually hit a breaking point. And that's exactly where SpongeBob is now, facing a quiet kind of collapse, the kind that comes before everything changes. This isn't your typical SpongeBob adventure. There's no grand villain, no epic showdown with Plankton, no dramatic explosion to signal danger or tension. Instead, it starts with something small, almost so easy to overlook, you might forget about it entirely. A song. In Earworm, SpongeBob gets a catchy jingle stuck in his head, musical Doodle. At first, he just hums along, no big deal, but slowly, it takes over. He can't think. He can't focus. The song loops non-stop in his mind, and the world around him starts to slip. He scratches the word doodle into every surface. His house becomes a mess. His personality starts to slip away. He's trapped in his own head, and he doesn't even realize it. It's played for laughs, but it's actually pretty unsettling. What starts as a simple tune becomes all-consuming. SpongeBob's mind starts to unravel under the pressure of the noise. It's Squidward with his off-key clarinet who finally pulls him out of it. No force or logic involved, just something real and imperfect that cuts through the chaos. It works because it's not about beating anything. It's about remembering who you are when everything else is lost. And that's not the only time SpongeBob starts to fall apart. In Layman Fortune, a simple fortune cookie tells him he's meant for great things, and he's all in, full of energy, confidence. He feels like everything is going his way. But then Plankton swaps the message. Now it says that if he doesn't give up the Krabby Patty formula, Mr. Krabs will die. Suddenly, SpongeBob falls into a panic. But SpongeBob doesn't just get worried. He's ready to sacrifice the one thing that holds everything together for him just to save someone who's hardly ever been nice to him. Because no matter his flaws, SpongeBob will always pick people over power. That's the core of who he is, and it's also what makes him so easy to hurt. Then there's the Googly Artiste. On the surface, it's a silly story about Patrick getting famous by slapping googly eyes on rocks. But for SpongeBob, it's something more. At first, he's there for Patrick. He's cheering him on, being the supportive friend. But as Patrick's star power rises, SpongeBob starts to feel it. He's being pushed aside. He's not needed anymore. Not as the cook, not as the best friend, and not even as the guy who makes everyone laugh. And that stings. It's a reminder that sometimes the people you care about move on without meaning to, or even realizing it. Everyone starts giving Patrick the attention. Even Mr. Krabs forgets about SpongeBob. And instead of acting out or demanding the spotlight, SpongeBob just steps back quietly. He tries to be useful, but the pain is there. It's not anger, it's being overlooked. He's still around, but no one notices him. That's the turning point. SpongeBob's always been the one to shake off setbacks, whether it's a failed boating test or some other embarrassing moment. But this time, something's different. He's not just dealing with a mistake, he's realizing the world is moving on without him. There's no explosion, no shouting, just a quiet, painful realization. For someone like SpongeBob, whose whole life is about connecting with others, that silence is hard to bear. These aren't challenges he can just solve with a spatula. They're quiet, growing doubts. Does he still matter? Is being kind enough? What happens when his best isn't enough for the people around him anymore? This is the cave. Not a physical place, but somewhere inside him. It's the spot where the doubts settle in, where the confidence he's always had starts to feel shaky. But here's the thing that matters. He doesn't quit. Even when he's at his lowest, when his thoughts turn against him, when the people he cares about forget him, and when everything tells him to pull away, he doesn't lose who he is. He doubts, he hurts, he pulls back, but he doesn't stop trying. That's the heart of SpongeBob's story. His biggest battle wasn't with anyone else. It was with himself. It's about staying soft in a world that rewards toughness, staying kind when things get tough, staying true to himself, even when he feels impossible or when he wonders if it's enough. This part of the journey isn't loud. It's quiet, reflective, messy, but it's the one that matters the most. It shows us a side of the hero we usually skip over, the exhaustion before the next big push, the place where who you are is tested, not by anyone else, but by the feeling that maybe something's missing. And SpongeBob, he doesn't come out of this slump with a big speech or a flashy moment. He does it by getting back up, by going back to work, by just showing up. Maybe real strength isn't about never breaking. Maybe it's about learning how to pull yourself back together, little by little, one day at a time. SpongeBob's biggest challenge isn't a villain. It's the quiet doubts that start to shake his confidence. What happens when he starts questioning his place in the world? SpongeBob has been through a lot. He's had his brain hijacked, lost his best friend, been emotionally sidelined, forgotten, and ignored. Despite Despite all this, he's always kept going. He's driven by his routine, a glimmer of hope, and the belief that if he tries hard enough, everything will work out in the end. In the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, the bottom drops out, for real this time. It begins with that familiar sense of everything being in place. The Krusty Krab is doing well. SpongeBob's in the kitchen, flipping Krabby Patties with a sense of purpose. He's not just going through the motions anymore. He's running the show. For once, he feels like he's in control. Like everything he's worked for has finally clicked into place. He's earned this spot. And for the first time, his role at the Krusty Krab feels like it truly defines who he is. Then, without warning, the formula disappears. Not lost, stolen. And just like that, everything SpongeBob has worked for comes crashing down. Mr. Krabs immediately points his finger at Plankton. The argument turns heated. SpongeBob tries to step in, tries to calm things down, but no one listens. It's the same as always. When it really matters, no one listens. His voice of reason is ignored. His attempts at kindness are mocked. SpongeBob watches as the world he loves falls apart, and for once, there's no one on his side. This isn't just about a recipe anymore. It's about everything losing its meaning. SpongeBob realizes that all his effort, his joy, his loyalty, his belief in people might not be enough to fix anything. And still, he doesn't give up. Instead, he does the unthinkable. He teams up with Plankton. Not out of trust, but out of necessity. No one else will help. Even with every reason to hate Plankton, SpongeBob still sees something in him. A little bit of potential, a reason to believe. Together, they build a time machine. Yes, a real time machine. They break all the rules, trying to save a town that doesn't even want them anymore. Their journey is full of wild moments. Time travel, pirates, superheroes, and things getting way out of hand. But what matters isn't all the craziness. It's what SpongeBob doesn't do. SpongeBob never thinks about getting back at anyone. He doesn't care about getting credit. All he wants is to fix what's falling apart. Even when he's given the power to change everything, he doesn't use it to control or conquer. He uses it to heal, to restore what's been broken. That's the real challenge for him. Despite the rising chaos and the crazy odds, SpongeBob stays true to who he is. He doesn't let go of his heart, even when everything is crumbling around him. This is the moment when everything falls apart. SpongeBob has tried everything, given it his all, and still, it feels like he's come up short. At this point, most heroes would be ready to quit, but not SpongeBob. Instead of giving into pressure, he does the unexpected. He sings. Not some epic chant, but a goofy, off-key Goofy Goober song. When the world seems to be falling apart, he holds on to what makes him who he is. His soft, silly side. The part of him that never gives up, no matter how impossible things seem. SpongeBob's way of being himself cuts through the mess of chaos and selfishness. He reminds everyone of who they were before things fell apart. In the end, it's not powers or his plans that saved Bikini Bottom. It's that SpongeBob refused to change, even when the world was falling apart. That's the real test. It's not just about fighting back or winning. It's about holding on to what makes you who you are, even when everything is pushing you to be something else. It's about believing in the good, even when it feels impossible. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most powerful thing SpongeBob has ever done. What SpongeBob is really fighting to save isn't the formula. It's faith. Faith in people, in community, and in the belief that kindness can still survive when everything else falls apart. Most of us wouldn't last a day in a world like that. SpongeBob, however, manages to hold on long enough to make a difference. And that's the true test. SpongeBob's faced countless setbacks. But what happens when everything he's worked for crumbles? You'd think that after everything SpongeBob's been through, facing the end of the world, teaming up with his worst enemy, and saving Bikini Bottom from chaos, there'd be some reward. Maybe a statue, a parade, or a giant golden spatula in his honor. But that's not how SpongeBob's world works. Instead of a grand celebration, life just goes back to normal. Mr. Krabs is still as cheap as ever, Squidward is just as annoyed, and the fryer's still running. SpongeBob's not the same after everything he's been through. He doesn't need a reward or applause to know his worth. The adventure might be over, but what stays with him is the quiet realization that he's enough, just as he is. This understanding doesn't come with a grand moment. It's not his speech or a dramatic reveal. It's a slow, steady feeling that grows as he faces the smaller, quieter moments in life. Moments where saving the day isn't the point. Being himself is. In the paper, Squidward tosses a gum wrapper away, thinking it's just trash. SpongeBob, however, sees something else. To him, it's full of possibilities. He turns it into a cape, a parachute, a prop for his music. The wrapper becomes something new with each idea. Squidward tries to copy him but fails, because the magic isn't in the paper. It's in SpongeBob's imagination. the heart, the joy. The lesson here is simple. Value isn't in the object itself, but in the person who sees it for what it can be. Then there's Le Big Switch. SpongeBob ends up in a fancy high-end kitchen, working under a world-class chef. He's completely out of his element, trying to fit in with a sharp white coat and precision tools. But he can't help it. Every dish he makes somehow turns into a Krabby Patty. And instead of messing up, it works. It doesn't impress because it's fancy or trendy. It wins them over because it's real. It's SpongeBob through and through. Meanwhile, back at the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs tries to go upscale with a different chef, but it all falls apart, hard. Beneath the fancy silverware and the gourmet plating, there's no heart, no soul. It's just a show. And that's when it clicks. SpongeBob is the soul of the Krusty Krab, not the formula, not the brand. It's him. This understanding that who he is, just as he is enough, shows up in other parts of his life too. In Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, SpongeBob and Patrick don't bring the washed-up superheroes out of retirement by fighting crime. They do it by believing in them, by treating them with respect and reminding them what it feels like to be great. And that's what gets the heroes back in action. Not nostalgia, but SpongeBob's genuine sincerity. None of this gets him a title or a promotion, and he doesn't get Employee of the Decade. What SpongeBob walks away with, though, is more valuable. Peace. He's not out there trying to prove he matters anymore. He just knows it. Even when people overlook him, when Squidward rolls his eyes, or when Mr. Krab cuts his hours, he still shows up. He keeps doing the work, not because he has something to prove, but because that's who he is. And in the end, that's the real reward. It was never about the formula, the superhero powers, or the respect. What SpongeBob gains isn't a trophy or praise, but something deeper. The solid understanding that joy, effort, and kindness still matter, even if the world forgets to acknowledge them. SpongeBob doesn't win by changing who he is. He wins by staying true to himself. And everything calms down, and the Krusty Krab settles back into its usual rhythm. With Squidward grumbling and playing his terrible clarinet in the background, SpongeBob doesn't need recognition. He simply smiles, flips a patty, and starts over. For SpongeBob, the reward isn't fame or glory. It's knowing he's exactly where he's meant to be. That was a lot. If you've made it this far, you're clearly in it. So why not stick around? Hit subscribe. Let's keep going. SpongeBob's reward isn't recognition, but it's knowing he's enough as he is. This quiet confidence shows when he simply shows up, stays true to himself, and finds peace in the everyday moments. When the fires are out, when the formula is safe, when the town rebuilds and the jellyfish start moving again like none of it ever happened, SpongeBob returns home. At first glance, nothing's changed. He wakes up in his pineapple, brushes his teeth with that same squared smile, feeds Gary, who meows like he always has. Outside, Patrick's doing something dumb and happy. Inside, the Krusty Krab still smells like fry grease and floor wax. Mr. Krabs is shouting about money. Squidward is sighing about everything. Same old Bikini Bottom. But SpongeBob's not the same. He doesn't walk in like a hero. There's no parade. No one mentions the journey. No one really knows what he went through. And that's kind of the point. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Coming back is harder than leaving. You've changed. They haven't. And now what? Think about it. SpongeBob saved the secret formula, stopped Plankton's most diabolical plan yet, and maybe even learned something about himself along the way. But Monday morning, he's still flipping patties. This is where stories get real. SpongeBob has to make one last choice that proves everything wasn't for nothing. Bikini Bottom tries to pull him back to who he used to be, but he can't go back. Not really. And that's the whole point. The clash between the old SpongeBob and who he's become creates the real drama. It's not the jellyfish nets or robot clones he's fought that matter. It's whether he can bring his new self home without losing what makes him SpongeBob. SpongeBob didn't risk everything for a pat on the back. He's jumped into that mess because nobody else would. When Bikini Bottom was falling to pieces, he was the last sucker still believing things could get fixed. That same fire still burns in him, but it's gone from a wild flame to a steady heat. He still flips those damn patties, still drives Squidward crazy, still chases jellyfish with Patrick. But watch him closely and you'll spot something different, kind of calm that wasn't there before. The way he stands a little straighter, the way small problems roll off him now. He used to scramble around trying to prove he mattered. Now, he just does what needs doing. You see it when Sandy's latest invention explodes, when Mr. Krabs has the 15th money meltdown of the day, when Plankton tries the same tired scheme for the 100th time. Where old SpongeBob might have freaked out, this SpongeBob just handles it. Take that episode SB129. You know, that weird one where Squidward gets tossed through time and ends up stuck in the future, then the past, then basically nowhere at all. SpongeBob shows up in every timeline, still his same goofy self. But now, that hits different. SpongeBob isn't just some clueless idiot with a smile plastered on his face. He's dug his heels into that happiness and planted a damn flag there. Throw him in the Stone Age or some chrome-plated future, doesn't matter. He's still finding ways to laugh while Squidward's losing his mind. Because SpongeBob figured out what matters, not trying to control the chaos, but swimming right in the middle of it. That's his real superpower now. Not the spatula skills or the bubble blowing. It's how he can stand in complete madness and still find something worth smiling about. While everyone else is falling apart, he's just there, present, ready, and somehow making it all seem like it might just work out after all. Back at the Krusty Krab, nothing major changes. SpongeBob doesn't ask for a raise. He doesn't demand recognition. He shows up, like always, on time, apron ironed, spatula polished. But the way he moves is different. He isn't desperate for approval anymore. He knows he belongs. And when things go wrong, he handles it with the kind of calm that only comes from having been through worse. Look, we all know this feeling, right? That moment when you come out the other side of something tough and suddenly the small stuff just doesn't hit the same way. You're still you, but with deeper roots. That's SpongeBob now. Next time you watch him, look for it. That quiet confidence behind the same silly laugh. That's the real journey. Not saving the day, but bringing what you learned back home with you. Even the way he helps others start to change. In Not Normal, Season 6, Episode 3, SpongeBob tries to change who he is to make people more comfortable. He lowers his voice, straightens his smile, follows a video tutorial to become normal. And sure, at first, everyone praises the new version of him. But it doesn't stick, because being normal means losing everything that made him him. And eventually, SpongeBob realizes that fitting in isn't worth fading out. That realization wouldn't have landed early on in his journey. But now, after everything, it feels earned, because now he understands the cost of shrinking himself, and he's not going to do that anymore. Ever tried to make yourself smaller to fit someone else's box? I bet you have. We all do it. We dial down our laugh because it's too much. We hide our weird hobbies. We swallow our real thoughts to keep the peace. That's what makes this part of SpongeBob's journey hit so hard. He's finally learned what we're still all figuring out. That the parts of you that don't fit are usually the parts most worth keeping. So yeah, he's back in Bikini Bottom. Same pineapple, same job. But this isn't just SpongeBob returning to his old life. This is SpongeBob bringing something back with him. A backbone, a boundary, a better understanding of why he does what he does. And honestly, that's the whole point of leaving in the first place. SpongeBob is making sure that no matter how weird or wild the world gets, there's at least one place where joy still lives. And that place, more often than not, starts with him. You've seen this person in your own life. The one who shows up, the one who keeps things running not because they have to, but because they understand what's at stake if nobody does. They don't wear capes. They wear aprons, name tags, work boots. That's our SpongeBob now. Not a hero because he saved the day once, but because he keeps saving it, quietly, every single day after. SpongeBob comes back home a little different, more calm and confident. When trouble hits, he steps up. Not for recognition, but because it's the right thing to do. His real strength comes from staying true to himself, no matter what's going on around him. There's a calm that settles in once you've proven yourself not just capable, but constant. SpongeBob returns with that calm. His apron fits different now. His smile is quieter but no less bright. The world spins as it always has, and SpongeBob spins with it, more grounded than before. But nothing stays calm for long. The road back isn't the end. It's just the deep breath before whatever comes next. In SpongeCano, Season 7, Episode 8, Bikini Bottom faces a volcano that threatens everything. Smoke fills the sky, hot lava bubbles, and fear takes over the town. The folks turn to old myths. They'll throw their worst neighbor into the volcano to stop it. Squidward gets picked by everyone. As they pull him toward the fiery pit, nobody speaks up to help. Fear has made them mean and foolish. Then SpongeBob steps up. The same SpongeBob who Squidward has been mean to for years simply says, "Take me instead." It was a clear choice that shows what his journey was really about. The road back wasn't about changing into someone new. It was about becoming more of who he truly was. Someone who would rather face danger than see others hurt, even those who were never kind to him. This isn't the same Sponge who once cried over an essay in Procrastination. This isn't the same guy who froze behind the wheel in boating school, or doubted his own voice in I'm with Stupid. This is someone who gets that being good isn't about being like. It's about doing what's right when it matters. SpongeBob walks toward the volcano not because he knows it'll work, but because it might. If there's even a small chance he can save someone, he'll take it, even if that someone is Squidward. Especially if that someone is Squidward. SpongeBob's journey didn't make him harder. It made him softer in the right ways, more willing to stand in harm's way, even for folks who never thanked him. And in the end, the volcano doesn't stop because someone dies. It settles because someone steps up. Because sometimes kindness has power, even things that make no sense. That's the final test on the road back. Not to fight, not to win, but to offer yourself without knowing what you'll get in return. And it doesn't end with big explosions or cheers. It ends with SpongeBob back at the Krusty Krab, back to the grill, back to Squidward's eye rolls and Patrick's bear hugs and Mr. Krabs counting pennies. But now, he carries something inside him that can't be shaken. He knows who he is. He's the guy who stepped up, who took the risk, who kept going, not to be called a hero, but because someone had to. That quiet strength, that's what the road back is all about. Not coming home to praise, but coming home changed, ready for whatever comes next. Not lifting anchors or building time machines, but standing tall when no one else will. Look, SpongeBob's story isn't about some magical hero's journey. Strip away the underwater nonsense, and it's about someone who refuses to become a jerk in a world that rewards jerks. His kindness isn't cute, it's radical. It comes with a price tag, and he pays it without complaining. That's who walks away from that damn volcano. Not a saint, not a superhero, just someone who finally put his money where his mouth is. So yeah, he's earned every stupid laugh track, every ridiculous song, every moment of joy that follows. Because in a world that begs you to toughen up, to look out for number one, to step on others before they step on you, he stayed soft. And that's not weakness, that's the hardest thing there is. If you're liking this video so far, then don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps. SpongeBob comes back home. And at first, everything seems the same. His pineapple, his job, his friends. But he's different now. He's not trying to prove anything, just showing up with a quiet confidence. Life's still chaotic, but he's learned to face it with calm and kindness, even when the world around him hasn't changed. SpongeBob doesn't end his story with a throne, or a treasure, or a statue carved in his image. He ends it back where it all began. Let's be honest, that's not how heroes are supposed to finish, right? We expect medals, glory, maybe a spin-off series about their amazing adventures. Instead, he's in his pineapple, watering plants that don't need it. He's at the same dead-end job, flipping the same baddies. He's chasing jellyfish with the same clueless pink starfish. Nothing looks different, but everything is. Because after all the chaos, the near deaths, the betrayals, the town turning on itself, SpongeBob came back with something no formula could create. Not fame, not power, just a quiet understanding of his own worth. And isn't that the point? The road back was never about coming home to fanfare. It was about coming home to yourself. The kind that doesn't need recognition, that doesn't care if Squidward still rolls his eyes, or if Mr. Krabs still underpays him, or if Patrick thinks mayonnaise is an instrument. Geeks, Season 2, Episode 15. Let's cut the crap about Geeks. Squidward gets his shot at fame, stuck with idiots who can't tell a trumpet from a toaster. But SpongeBob doesn't bail. He gets everyone practicing while Squidward's busy feeling sorry for himself. When showtime hits, they nail it. Not because Squidward deserved it, but because SpongeBob refused to let someone else's dream die. That wasn't charity, that was character, even before life kicked him around. Now he's back at the same crappy job, same annoying neighbors, same routine, but different inside. Tested, proven. This is what nobody tells you about heroes. They don't get parades. They make your coffee, fix your car, teach your kids. They carry wisdom nobody notices and choose kindness when being a jerk would be easier. And that's the elixir SpongeBob brings back to Bikini Bottom. Not just joy, but tough joy. Not just kindness, but choosing kindness, even when the world gives you every reason not to. Let's get real. We've been sold this lie that shutting down is smart, that not caring is cool, that cynicism is wisdom. But SpongeBob Road Back cuts through that nonsense. His soft heart isn't weakness. It's a deliberate choice made after seeing how ugly things can get. He's not teaching Bikini Bottom to avoid pain. He's showing them how to take the hit and keep going without turning bitter. How to crash and burn, but show up tomorrow still believing. How to stay open in a world that rewards those who close off. That's not being real. That's the real fight. He lives that in Have You Seen This Snail? Season 4, Episode 3. When Gary runs away and SpongeBob doesn't chase him with blame. He just sings, grieves, and waits with hope. We're taught to chase what leaves us, to demand explanation, to make others fix what breaks inside us. But not SpongeBob. He gives Gary space, feels his loss, and keeps faith without forcing it. That's not being a doormat, that's being grown. And people around him shift because of it. Not dramatically, not overnight, but it's there. Squidward lets his guard slip sometimes. Mr. Krabs occasionally remembers there's more to life than money. Patrick stumbles into moments of accidental wisdom. SpongeBob doesn't need credit. He just keeps showing up. Not to fix everything, but to be present for it. With a spatula, a net, and a heart that refuses to shrink. His real legacy isn't the catchphrases or the burgers. It's a stubborn belief that no matter how messy life gets, it's still worth facing with a smile. Still worth second chances. Still worth singing when nobody's listening. His story loops back to normal. But when he says, "I'm ready," it means something harder now. He's ready for everything. Good, bad, and the weird stuff in between. Ready to grow while staying exactly who he is. So what does SpongeBob bring back? Hope. Not the loud fireworks kind. The kind you carry in your pocket. The kind that survives jellyfish stings and bad report cards and burned grilled cheese. The kind that looks like a sponge who never gave up on being good. Not once, not ever. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and we'll see you in the next video.